Hi, my name's Doug, and today I wanted to talk about something a little bit different, although I'm going to try to tie together a few different ideas and things that I've been thinking about. And I like making these videos as a way to kind of process feelings. I am a musician, and I was always in the habit of watching my own videos of myself playing and performing to critique myself and to watch my emotions and things like that, my facial expressions. So I do the same thing with the videos that I make on here. And some of the things I'm noticing when I watch is, my patterns and stuttering over words, and maybe I should slow down. Um, Another thing I've been noticing, though, is watching some of my step videos and that I didn't discuss forgiveness. So I do want to touch on forgiveness today, and I'm going to align some ideas. I want to talk about my mother. Her name was Eileen, and she just passed away in August. And I was in an institution when she passed away, so I couldn't be with her. So I'm going to use this video as a way to discuss some of the concepts that I've been discussing, specifically step 5 of Alcoholics Anonymous, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. But I want to tie some of these ideas, love, unconditional love, the love of a mother. So there's this quote that I like. It's, "Mother is God in the eyes of a child." And that's out of the Silent Hill movie. Mother is the name of God on the lips of every child, and that's in The Crow. So I've been using Gemini AI to help me bring ideas together and draw correlations. So I put that into Gemini this morning, and I got a few talking points that I think really relate well with my step 5 work. Also, I've been using Gemini to process my dreams in the Jungian approach, and they look at a lot of unconscious symbols. And I've been having lots of dreams about doing laundry and putting water in drying machines and things like that. And Gemini's opinion is that I'm processing, even in my dreams, I'm processing grief and I'm processing the work that I've been doing in the steps. So I really feel like these videos are an integral part of that cleansing process, being vulnerable. I'm telling the world right now. And what do I want to tell the world? I want to tell the world my mother loved me. She really did. I don't think I could have got sober without her love. And when I look back to my family's history, she loved my father too. And as I said, my father's name was Doug, and he died sober. He got sober when I was 4 years old. So I grew up in these meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, but I grew up in a loving home. I was raised with good morals and values. And lots of those came from both of my parents, but my mother really embodied those values. Some of the other things about her, she was very meticulous, she was very intelligent, she was diligent, and she was insightful. So let's look at some of these points, though, that correlate between my mother and her unconditional love and the unconditional love of God, as I understand him, Jesus Christ. The unwavering acceptance. It's the ability to be safe and to be vulnerable. Regardless of my flaws, my mistakes, or my performance, my mother always loved me. I messed up so many times, and she always, always loved me and accepted me. Selflessness and sacrifice. The focus on the well being of your own creation. I mean, I try to think what it must be like for God to look at his creation and see all of our flaws and mistakes, and to focus on the well being and to provide for the well being of your creation. I can't imagine what that might be like. And I really wanted to talk about this today, forgiveness and compassion. My mother had an instinct to forgive, and I think that God has that instinct to forgive. And look at the love of the cross. I mean, Jesus Christ died for my sins, and I didn't deserve that, and he did it for me anyhow. In fact, I wasn't even born when he did that. One of the things I like to think about when I pray is, Jesus, you died for my sins, and I wasn't even here. Like, I was on your mind as you were hanging on the cross. Like, I can't understand that level of sacrifice. You know what I mean? Nurturing and protection. Jehovah Jireh, Lord is my provider. And I've talked about this in my other videos, that God was always there and he was always providing for me. So to run a life on self-will, which is essentially what my drinking and drug addiction was I was playing God myself. And I had to learn that, as a human being, I have many abilities and I can do a lot of things, But when I look back at the evidence, God's really been the one that I think has been doing it all. He provides the avenues and the abilities for those things to happen. But there were times when I couldn't provide for myself, and He was still there. Of course, now I'm going to say, He provides those through our human constructs of different institutions and rehabs and different people that were in my life. But still, it really makes me think, He's providing those avenues and making those things possible and putting it on the hearts of those people to try to help me. And they didn't even know who I was. They had just met me and were so willing to be compassionate to someone like me. So, foundation of trust. So this is a big one. My mother shaped my understanding of trust, which I said is very important in step 5, which can be built upon to become the trust of God later in life. So I really feel that being able to trust in the foundation of trust that I built in her, I was then able to parallel that into my trust of God. So as I said, my mother loved me. She loved me so much. And I have so many joyous memories when I think about her. And yes, I'm not going to lie, I'm still grieving her. It wasn't very long ago. God must have really loved me to bless me with such a courageous woman, to love someone like me. And I'm not trying to self-deprecate. I'm a human being. Human beings are flawed. I have assets and I have liabilities. And she nurtured those assets, especially playing music early on, provided me with all the avenues, drum lessons, music theory classes, and she always helped me grow those God-given talents I had, and those are such important talents to me now. Yesterday I played music probably for 6 hours straight, and I just loved every second of it, and I kept thinking throughout each moment and listening to myself record, like, thank you, God, for the ability to be able to use my hands to do this, to create this music that I love so much. And I wanted to share it with people, but really it's just an amazing thing that God allows us to be able to do things like these. So these ideas, introduced by my mother as an infant, led to my own ability to have self-acceptance and honesty with myself, despite my own flaws. And it made me allow myself to try to understand God's forgiveness. And one of the things that I talked about that kind of piqued my interest in doing this video is I kept saying, I'm going to get rid of these defects in step 5, these shortcomings. They're sins. I'm not getting rid of them per se. What I'm doing is I'm letting go of the shame and guilt. Because a drug addict and alcoholic, I can't live with shame and guilt. And that's pretty much why I drink it. Drinking and drug use is a symptom of a spiritual condition. And the big book says that whenever the spiritual malady is overcome, I straighten out mentally and physically. So it's this top-down kind of process where I straighten out spiritually. And that's what the Alcoholics Anonymous steps do. And as I read the Bible, many of the same concepts are contained in there. I could quote Bible verses for each of the steps. And that's something that really opened my mind too, to start to see everything through the same lens. Like, we're talking about the same thing here. How can I really accept myself, a flawed, imperfect human being? I make mistakes all the time, every single day. If you want to call them sins, call them sins. Call them defects, call them shortcomings, whatever it is. I'm human, and that's okay. And looking at it like that, it makes it easier. You know what I mean? It makes it easier to accept myself. Of course, I want to say I don't want to keep on going on making those same mistakes. Let go and let God, and that's something that is heard a lot in the rooms. But how can I let go of these mistakes and not create the same havoc and wreckage as I move on in my life? And I think really that's kind of learning how to live, of course, without drinking or drug use, because that is it's pure evil, really. If you ask me, it makes me into a person that I don't want to be. So now that symptom is relieved, because I'm addressing the core issue. The core issue was not drinking and drug use. The core issue was my selfishness. So I think the love of God allows me to see, if God loved me so much, I need to love myself. And that's a tall order to do. So this level of self-acceptance has led to freedom and just, quite frankly, joy and peace. And that's allowed me to really process my mother's death, my brother's death, and my father's death in a much more meaningful way. So I think really that's why I've been having these dreams so much, that I just woke up today and felt like I gotta talk about this. Yes, of course, I know other people will hear this. Maybe something I said will help them. I wanted to be vulnerable. I know anyone on the planet could see this video, and I want them to know my mother loved me, and that's a gift from God. My mother was a gift from God. Her name was Eileen, and I thank you, God, so much for letting me be born. Thank you for listening.